there, this is Lydia, the podcast producer of the show, and in the next 4 episodes, you'll be hearing an interview with Brian Will. Brian has founded or co-founded 6 very different companies over the last 30 years. He has franchised a landscaping company, built 3 insurance startups, 1 internet marketing company, and now owns a chain of restaurants. 2 of these were sold to venture capital firms, and 1 went to a private equity firm. The companies that he has built have been worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Brian has documented 37 business lessons in his new book, The Drop Out Millionaire. So with that introduction, let's hop into today's episode.
Welcome to the Agency Secrets podcast, where we help your independent agency gain insights into the secrets proven to build a thriving agency, with your co-hosts, me, Kyle Gorman.
And me, Justin Clements. And don't forget to reach out to us with any questions. Or if you have topics you would like covered in upcoming episodes, just let us know. You can learn more at agencysecretspodcast.com. That's agencysecretspodcast.com. And remember, be humble, stay hungry, and always hustle.
Well, as always, I want to thank you all for joining us on the Agency Secrets podcast. Of course, I'm here with our good buddy Justin, but no offense to you, Justin, but I'm going to trump you a little bit this week because more importantly, we have special guest Brian Will, who is an author, and second book will be coming out soon. Really want to encourage you to keep an eye out for that, and feel free to reach out to us for more information, and we will make sure to put links available as soon as that becomes available. But truly a legend in what Brian has been able to create and develop, and the stories that he tells and the lessons that are learned from that. So we are incredibly excited. Brian, thank you so much for taking the time to come to us. Just asked Brian, right now he's calling us from Georgia, but just a few hours ago was sitting on the beach, and I'm not going to say which one is better. I'm just going to say that's where he is right now. He happens to be in the middle of Georgia. But
the beach is better.
Okay, all right. Well, he said it, right? So, but nonetheless, Brian, truly, we appreciate you taking the time to meet us. And so, if you will, I know Justin is just chomping at the bit to jump in on some questions, but before he does that, Brian, would you give us just kind of a quick overview? And I know that's hard because of the amazing experiences that you have, but could you give us kind of a quick rundown of how you got to where you are now?
Oh my gosh, I failed tremendously so many times that I was able to learn enough to be eventually successful.
Nice.
And that spans 35 years in different industries and different businesses and different companies. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the keys to the book is, in fact, the opening line in the book is it's about failure. So you fail enough, if you learn, you'll succeed. And that's the story of my life.
Honestly, that's one of the things that I'm really excited about as this book makes it out, is it's such a valuable lesson. And I talked to a very successful friend of mine who has built some incredible businesses, sold some incredible businesses. One of the comments he made to me one time, and I tell entrepreneurs this quite often whenever I'm talking to him, and it was from his knowledge and expertise on this. He said, I think people tend to stop too quickly because we hit those failure points, we hit those walls, and we just stop. And he's like, I've seen so many people that are just on the edge of hitting a level of success, of making it to the next step, but they get so discouraged by the failure after failure that they just stop. And so I really appreciate your willingness to come out and be so open and transparent about the failures and what that has done to lead you to where you are now, because we oftentimes don't hear those stories. We hear about how great things were, and someone's an overnight success after 35 years of hard work and failure. And so I appreciate your transparency. Justin, I know you're just wanting me to shut up so you can ask a couple questions. So, Justin, dive in here.
All right. I'm going to start with this. This book is really great. I was telling Kyle, I think this reminds me of a mix between a couple of my favorites out there, Shoe Dog by Phil Knight, which is the story of Nike, because it's packed full of stories of Brian building businesses. And then also a little bit of the book Traction by Gino Wickman, because this has step-by-step on how to build a business. But I love the candor and the transparency and the vulnerability and the challenges of like, maybe like the part I'm going to go over and have a lot of questions, but our audience are agents and agency owners that either want to grow a business or trying to grow a business. And Brian in his book just flat out puts it out there. Like, you might not be cut out for this. You might be better off just working a job. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I want to start by reading this. I saw his traits. I saw how he worked. And it was very valuable to me. It paid off in a way that neither of us will ever forget. The year we sold our business for $60 million. You can learn a lot from his adventures and create new opportunities for your life that will pay off too. He takes what's in existence, what people are using for systems and processes, and makes it better. Then he goes on to teach people how to save time, money, and energy too. That was a comment by, I think, one of your former partners, Steve.
Yes.
And there that you go on, and I think you said that you wrote this book to like put it all down on paper for your kids so that they kind of have the playbook. And every agent out there, I was telling Kyle, I think I'm going to buy a copy of this book for every single team member over here at Remodel Health, because this book, if you apply what Brian shared in this book, these lessons, and create this success filter to win in business and life, you can only be better for it. And I'm just like, the humility comes through in this book. You talk about, let's start with a little background. This book is about failure. So you go on to share story after story. If you don't understand that success is born of failure, you should stop reading now and come back later when you're ready to accept the fundamental truth. Mm-hmm. And you go on to attack people's egos. And I really want to know, how did you get there? Because that's the number one struggle with me and so many other people, is our egos, and not one to fail. But you stated that while I failed, I also learned. And that's why I love the phrase, sometimes you win, sometimes you learn. Brian Will, really excited to have you, man. I just can't thank you enough. Got tons of questions. But is that why you wrote this book? Is that to kind of put it down for your kids, or what drove you to write this?
So I originally had this first book I wanted to write, which I did, and it's called I Give the Dumb Kids Hope. And I get a lot of flack for that title because people think it's not politically correct, but there's a good story behind it. And it originally started out as a story for my kids about my life. It's mostly personal with some business. And I finished that book literally while I was out in Park City, and I went to dinner, and I was sitting at dinner, and I thought to myself, I'm not done. There's so much more about straight business that I want to talk about. And so I sat at dinner, and about 30 minutes, I wrote down 100 topics on my notes on my phone. I came back and started book 2 and wrote it. And it originally was written, I originally had this arrogant idea that I could write a business that would have all the answers. And as I got into writing the book, I realized that there's so many different scenarios, different people, different personalities, different problems. There's no way to cover all the issues you can cover in a business. And so ended up being a bit more general than specific in a lot of areas. But a lot of it turned into, this is why people succeed and this is why people failed. I've seen this so many times. Mm-hmm. I've coached and trained so many salespeople and managers and anywhere from a small business to a Fortune 500. And it's became so clear to me why people succeed and fail that I try to start putting those concepts and those ideas in this book. And I really like the way this book turned out. I think it's a good overview, and it's from a success in business standpoint, I think it's less of these are the steps in business you need to take as much as these are the steps you personally need to take in order to become the person you need to be successful in this business. And then you can tackle the business concepts.
And one of the things Justin touched on there that I'd love for you to maybe just kind of give a teaser on is the filter, that success filter, the failure filter. So I think that's such a great kind of personal awareness tool that we should have and begin to incorporate. Tell us a little about what that is and how we need to understand that about ourselves.
This is one of my favorite topics. And so This goes back to somebody told me this years ago, and they said, Kyle, do you know the difference between you and Elon Musk, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett? Do you know the difference between you guys? It's not that you're humans. You have arms and legs. You get up, you eat 3 meals a day. You do what you do. The only difference between you and a multi-billionaire is the way you think.
Wow.
That's it. They think on one level, you think on another. So it's the way you think that is the difference, right? And the way you think is a product of what I call this subconscious personal filter. And that subconscious personal filter is working behind the scenes in your brain, and it is taking in every bit of information coming at you, whether it's on media or the internet or this podcast or the books you read or the people you run into or the people that work for you or the people you work for. Everybody's feeding information into your brain, and your brain accepts or rejects that information. And it accepts or rejects it based on everything that's gone into your brain in the past. And the way your brain accepts or rejects information determines whether you're going to be successful or whether you're going to fail in whatever it is that you're doing at this time. Right? So we both have been in this business a long time, and we've both seen people who can't seem to win. You know, these guys, they can't win. They can't win because their personal filter inside their brain doesn't know how. And when it takes information in, it rejects the information that would have helped them and accepts the information that won't.
Right.
And so they fail over and over. You also know people that win. It seems like, what the heck? This guy wins at everything he does. How in the world does that happen? It happens because his filter knows how to take information in and process it and turn it into a winning move moving forward. It's happening behind the scenes, and you don't even know what's happening.
Yeah.
So you have to learn to develop your internal filter to be successful at whatever it is you're going to do. Now, that filter can be successful as a parent. It can be successful at sports. It can be successful at mathematics, but it can fail in business. Right. So that filter is not all-encompassing. It's on every specific item or task that you're going after. And too many people in business have no idea what they're doing. They don't know how to be in business. They don't know how to win. They don't know how to succeed. And so when decisions come at them, their filter makes the wrong decision. It gives them bad advice. Your subconscious is giving your conscious person advice all day, every day. And if your subconscious is giving you bad advice, you're going to fail. You need to develop that filter. You need to develop into a success filter. And if you can't, then you need to find somebody who can help you do that.
Alrighty, I really hope you enjoyed that section of the podcast with Brian Will. Tune in next week and you'll get to hear more of our amazing interview with Brian Will. Have a nice week.